Newly restored in 4K resolution with all new special features, including interviews with Jennifer Connelly.
Making that film was really extraordinary.
And the Henson family.
The music, the singing, and the dancing. He was kind of bringing it all together.
Featuring collectible book packaging with rare photos and more. One movie in 4K Ultra HD, September 20th. Limited edition gift set also available.
And now, without further ado, enjoy the show.
I'm Jennifer Connelly. I'm excited to be with you tonight, celebrating 30 years of Labyrinth. I hope you enjoy seeing Hoggle, Ludo, and Sir Didymus up on the big screen again, and of course, our beloved Goblin King.
We're thrilled to present the 30th anniversary of my father's classic fantasy movie, Labyrinth. In 3, 2, 1, action!
When I hear Labyrinth, I think really of my experience making the film, which was really extraordinary. It made a big impression on me personally. It was a really wonderful shoot. We filmed in London. It may have been the first time that I had ever been to London, and certainly the first time that I spent any significant amount of time there. I just loved Jim, and the whole experience was it's like a wonderland.
That film was particularly fun for me to work with my father. When I finished school, I decided to do movies for other people. So I worked on other films, 3 or 4 in a row. And then I came back and did Labyrinth with my dad. And it was fun being on set with my father. But I also was a legitimate member of the British film industry, working with my father as a colleague and supporting him. My dad was a crazy workaholic that could accomplish an enormous amount in a very short amount of time. He's also very detail oriented, so we would all get caught up on getting that little eyeball plant to look just exactly right for that moment where the camera finishes on it. He used to always say was his favorite times in life would be when you're shooting like with the Muppets and everybody just starts laughing and you can't finish the take because you're all just laughing so hard. And he used to say that even those were failed takes, those were always the most fun he would have at work.
He did direct it himself as opposed to co-directing with someone else. And it was a completely original film. So as opposed to being the second Muppet movie or the sequel to something, it was completely original, and he worked on it, every aspect of developing it himself.
As much as he loved Dark Crystal, he was missing the funny. He was missing some of the fun of the Muppets and the idea of and the music and the singing and the dancing. So I think that he was kind of bringing it all together with Labyrinth to try to get the best of all worlds put together.
He was so enormously talented. He was a marvel. He was so gentle. He was so patient. Speak of patience, he was so patient with me.
I felt so strange because the rest of the people in the ballroom were all sort of professional dancers and everything, and here I was, this kid who's never danced before in her life.
This huge production that I was kind of in the middle of, and I had no idea what I was doing. And he was, just supportive with me and kind to me.
When you're casting a part like Sarah, which is the part in the film, you hope someone walks in the door and is the right person.
Over the years, we have collected so many puppets, puppet props. It felt like it was important to keep these things, but if nobody could see them, why keep them? So a few years ago, we turned our attention to getting the collection completely out into the public view.
The family approached the center. They were looking for a home for the Henson collection where it could be displayed and shared with people for future generations.
That discussion about really featuring Henson objects in the new museum led to actually creating a whole new wing here at the center, with a major portion of it actually being the Jim Henson collection.
This collection is hundreds and hundreds of puppets and props and costumes. So many of the things that made these productions special and exciting. When you come here to the center, you get to see the actual puppets. These are the originals. And I think that's really, really special. There are so many great scenes in the Goblin City. And here we have the little cannonball guy when he gets shot at and his little arms go flopping all over the place. He's so cute. And all of this armor was handmade. The wonderful craftsmen, like putting in each little rivet to make this armor. Here we have Didymus. Didymus is one of my favorites. And he always reminds us of our dog. That we had a dog named Yankee Doodle, and Yankee Doodle was a snappy little peekapoo, and he was always guarding our front door. And even though he was teeny tiny, he had a very big personality, and he really had a mission. There's a lot of Yankee Doodle in Didymus.
Without my permission, no one may cross.
Jim Henson actually was at the center when we opened and cut the ribbon with Kermit the Frog. His family has remained involved with the center throughout our history here. We were a really good puppet-centric place to host it and really to tell the story of Jim as a puppeteer.
These door knockers were sculpted, but they're actually made of foam. So it looks like they're made of bronze, but in fact it's soft foam. And so when they come alive and start to talk, it's just so magical.
It's very rude to stare.
Naturally, a foam puppet will just fall apart. Like we like to say, it's toast because the puppet just crumbles like a dried piece of toast. So restoring foam puppets is extremely difficult.
I never thought that I would ever touch any of Henson's work. I had always hoped that I would, but the reality is I didn't think that there was a way that would have been paved for me as a kid.
There can be a puppet that looks really great on the outside, but then you put your hand inside to perform it, and the inside is like this, and then you know it needs some restoration.
Absolutely. We have a large collection of Labyrinth objects. They come in, and I conserve them.
Now this is a pretty wild one. This is a plaster cast of the Hoggle head. Now what they would do is first they would sculpt the Hoggle head in clay, and then make a mold of it, and then from that mold, they could make the skins out of foam latex. And you can see the incredible detail that the sculptor got into every single wrinkle to make him really feel real.
I'll take as far as I can. Then you're on your own, right?
Right.
Now what do we have here?
These are some hands for the junk woman here.
Ooh, she sure is scary,
Yeah.
isn't she? Wow, you would not want to run into her.
You can't look where you're going if you don't know where you're going.
Oh, tell us a little bit about this little goblin. He is a pretty cute little fella.
So this is Pico. This is actually when Jareth, David Bowie's character, appears in Sarah's room. He kind of taunts her and throws this scarf at her, and it lands on the floor, and it becomes Pico.
So what did you do on this goblin?
Well, his head was actually in really good shape. So that's probably the most important piece as far as my job is concerned. I did a little bit of repair just around the eyelids and on the nose a little bit where that underskull is.
Once the puppets have been restored, they're no longer performable because they really have to put things into a fixed position in order to keep it stable long term.
It's not fair.
No, it isn't. But that's the way it is.
David was just like my dad. He was also crazy workaholic and worked so hard. And then the interesting thing for David coming on the movie, he had a great time, and it was almost like he was on vacation. You could tell that he was used to being so busy that doing a movie, which for everybody else, it's a long day, but it's, you do 1 or scenes. You know, for him, it was like, oh, it was like a period, like he could kind of relax and just have fun. He had sort of a wicked, naughty sense of humor, which was great because my dad had a wicked, naughty sense of humor.
If he says hoodoo, and you do.
Every afternoon he'd go to the pub, and when we'd wrap, there's a studio pub, and David would always go and have a beer with the crew, and the crew really loved him. He and Jennifer got along really well.
I was aware of who David Bowie was. There were kids in my school who were more sophisticated than me, I think, who were more familiar with his music, which is probably a good thing, because I probably would have found it really difficult had I really been a huge fan at that time. So while I knew his music, I wasn't quite that cool yet at 14. He was kind, he made me feel very much at home, he was supportive.
She's a really good actress. She's a pleasure to work with. One forgets that she's just 14 years old. She's really very mature.
You know, his expressions are uniquely David. Everything's uniquely David. And then when you start talking to him, you totally can feel the heartbeat of the artist that's in there, and you can see the soul. How can somebody seem like they are the most exotic person you've ever met and the most grounded and the most there person you've ever met? And that's just, it's delightful to be around somebody like that.
He really appreciated how out there it all was.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight for this special screening of Labyrinth.